Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at next week, 10 days. So today's video, this will take us to around the 18th of May. So going into the second half of the month with this update. Also have a look at CFS V2 for the next month, and that will take us into June. So we've had a really warm bank holiday weekend, of course. Yesterday, and I'll talk about that in a moment, was the warmest May Day, bank holiday Monday on record. And this warmth is continuing across the eastern parts of the country today, but it is on its way out. Things will be turning cooler over the next few days. Actually, it does look rather unsettled as you get through to the end of the week and into next weekend. So I'll talk about that in a moment. As I say, we'll also have a look at the CFS V2 for the next month as well. So we're going to begin though by having a look at what happened yesterday, because we did get this new record. So this was a tweet from the UK Met Office that confirmed that we reached 28.7 degrees, which we round up to 29 degrees at RAF Northolt in North London. Yesterday afternoon, making it the hottest early May bank holiday weekend on record. Actually, I mean, bank holiday Monday, but I suppose all the days of the weekend probably were significantly warmer than average, so probably a new record for all of the days of the bank holiday weekend. So it really has been a remarkable sort of bank holiday weekend. I'd say the heat is continuing today across the east parts of the country. It won't be quite as hot as it was yesterday, but even so, temperatures will still be into the mid-20s Celsius, most certainly, possibly scraped around 27, that's around 81. But after today, the temperatures will be sliding off. Of course, we've not got very long to wait before we come up to the late spring bank holiday weekend, the Whitsun bank holiday. So we'll be starting updates for that. I think we're starting them over the weekend, actually. It'll be within the time frame of the GFS, extended time frame of GFS model this weekend, our next bank holiday weekend. So it's going to have a lot to live up to match this bank holiday just gone. So obviously we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But anyway, updates for the late spring bank holiday weekend will be starting at the weekend. Right, so let's get on with weather next week to 10 days. We've got the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts here from the Penn State University website. The ECMDF is up on the top and the GFS is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 81 feet, is an area in the atmosphere, high pressure, low pressure, being moved around by a jet stream. And that essentially is what weather is, a movement of air masses by the jet stream. So red extrapolates to high pressure, and blue extrapolates to low pressure. So for the 7 to 10 day time frame, these are the mean flows for the week to 10 day time frame, we find that we've got above average heights to our west and southwest, and also to our northeast as well, which sends the jet stream through up to that area. We are getting some influence from the jet stream. It's a little bit of a split jet actually that's going on there, with some of the energy dropping down into potentially southern parts of Europe. So it looks like it should be a very settled scenario. Actually, it's probably a little bit more unsettled than you would think by just looking at the height anomaly. This is how the GFS is looking. So this one has the above average heights more centred around the Azores, really, with below average heights to the north of Scotland, and also a little bit of a blocking feature developing right to the far north of the country. Essentially, the jet stream is just coming through the country from the Atlantic, rather like that, and on into Europe. So that's a little bit more unsettled again. I think the models do have a slightly more unsettled flavour to them within sort of the 5 to 10 day time frame anyway, but then as you get to the extended range, I'll include that, perhaps signs that high pressure is coming back. That's always been the signal really for this May, but we have the very hot and settled weather for the first week, then we go through a more cooler and unsettled interlude through the middle part of the month, and then potentially going back towards high pressure later on, which I suppose, talking about the bank holiday weekend, that might coincide quite nicely for another decent bank holiday weekend, perhaps in 2 or 3 weeks' time. But more on that, of course, when we get closer to it. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. So we're at Colchester, down across Essex today. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Colchester, starting off significantly warmer than average at the moment, plus 10 at 850 HPA. A drop in the temperature coming later this week. Really from today onwards, the temperature is downhill through to the end of the week. Then after that, it looks like we're very close to the 30-year upper air temperature average, although there is a lot of scatter that's masking that. So the white line here is the ensemble mean. So that's taking each individual line, ensemble member essentially, and creating a mean line out of all those individual members. And that's very close to the 30-year temperature average. It is a little bit above average, but you'll notice there's a lot of scatter. So we have got ensemble members that are up here. They're very warm ensemble members, similar to sort of level of temperature we're at the moment, but also got quite a lot of ensemble members that are down there. So they're really quite cool ensemble members. So you really won't want to pick out what is happening there as we get through to the middle of the month. That's the 15th of May. But my suspicion is, as it has been all the way along with this month, that we start off very warm, hot, we go cooler and more unsettled, and then we potentially go back to high pressure again, potentially bringing more very warm and quite dry conditions. As far as precipitation is concerned, a lot of dry weather over the next few days. It does get more unsettled as we get to the end of the week into weekend, and possibly through to the start of next week as well. But we're certainly not talking about a deluge there. We're not talking about a very wet situation. We're just talking about a bit more unsettled compared to what we've seen, particularly through the first week of May. That's how the service temperatures are looking for Colchester, finally with the ensemble data. So again, starting off really warm today, that's 20 degrees, and we're above that, so we're not doing too badly at all for early May, but temperatures on the way down after today. So tomorrow maximum's probably around 16, 17 degrees, and then after that, by Wednesday and Thursday, we're struggling to get much above 13 or 14 degrees. So quite a big cool off compared to what we've had. After that, we go through to the middle of May. That's this period just here, and we're just staying quite close to the long-term average, really, but maybe signs of a little bit of a warm-up later on. But again, there is a lot of scatter there, so I have to re-emphasise that. So we've got, this is 20 degrees, so we have got some ensemble members in the extended range that are going up to or even a little bit beyond 20 degrees Celsius. But equally, this is kind of like 10 degrees, and we have got some ensemble members quite clearly that are around that level. These ensemble members down there, those are minimum temperature. So there are a few ensemble members that are going for quite chilly nights as well in the second half of the day. So it looks like from a temperature perspective, it is rather up for grabs as we get through into the second half of the month. But overall, nothing quite as hot coming up. It's certainly within the 7 to 10 day time frame as we've had over the past few days. Temperature anomalies are looking like that, so it's turning really warm up over Scandinavia, by the way. The temperature anomaly across parts of Scandinavia going above 10 degrees above average for the week from today, the 7th through to yesterday, I should say, 7th through to the 15th of May. But anyway, for the UK and for Ireland, it looks like we're coming out close to average there. So England and Wales, perhaps just a little bit above average. West parts of the country may be slightly below average, if anything. But I don't think it'll be a big deviation, not too far from average for the second week of May coming up. And then as far as precipitation is concerned, so again, it looks like it's average to maybe there's still a little bit drier than average through most parts of the country. So there's a continuation of the same theme, really, as we've had, just it's not quite as dry and it's not quite as warm as we've seen through the first week of May. So that's how the GFS is looking for Saturday. This is a 6 o'clock run of the GFS. It's just updated with low pressure to the west of the island, bringing in these westerly winds. They're cooler and they're more unsettled. So probably quite an unsettled weekend coming up, actually. I suspect there will be showers and there might be longer spells of rain as we get through into Sunday. Always most likely in the west, but I think all places are at risk of some rain this weekend. Probably temperatures on the cool side as well, and those cool and rather changeable conditions stay with us into the early part of next week as well. We are getting a little bit of ridging from the Azores high down to our south, so that's trying to build up an extension. But essentially, we've still got the jet stream coming through the country here as we go through to the middle of next week. So it still looks rather unsettled, rather changeable, certainly up to the middle part of May. Now, as we get through to day 10, maybe signs that the Azores high ridge is beginning to extend in a little bit more, and as we go into the extended range of the GFS, actually that's the trend on this latest run, which is to build high pressure again. So that's very much in line with what I've been expecting for this month, which is the hot and dry start, then the cooler and more changeable middle part of the month, and then going back towards high pressure conditions again. And these are bringing in very warm easterly winds once more by Sunday the 20th of May. Now that's a really long way off, it's 300 hours away, but we've had a few sort of hints that this is how May is going to play out for a little while now, and the high pressure stays with us then as we go up towards the end of this particular GFS run. That's Thursday 24th of May, where the high pressure is firmly bedded in, and that will be bringing again a lot of very warm and dry weather. We can't say whether that would extend into the late spring bank holiday weekend, the late May bank holiday weekend. It's possible that it would, but it is outside of the time frame of GFS still at the moment, so that would be very speculative to say that. ECWF looks like that, so again rather cool and changeable for the weekend. I think we are going to have quite an unsettled weekend this weekend with showers or longer spells of rain at times, and we get through to next week, and we're trying to build up the Azores high actually as we're going through next week. So the ridge is extending towards us from the main area of high pressure. It's down to the southwest, but again similar to the GFS, keeping a little bit of an influence from the jet stream through the country, so probably taking quite a while to get anything particularly settled next week. And that's how we look at day 10, which is Friday 18th of May, and still looking rather unsettled actually overall. That's quite disappointing. Remember what's going on there is that we saw it on the height anomaly, so we've got above average heights out there, we've got above average heights up there, so they're trying to form an area of high pressure, but the jet stream is coming across the Atlantic. Some of the energy is going off up there, but also some of the energy is splitting and going down to there, and that leaves us with more of an unsettled type pattern as we get to day 10 compared to what the GFS is showing. That's a very long way off though, so I wouldn't be overly concerned about that. It probably will take a little while to get out of this unsettled interlude, but I do think the final 10 days of May might going back into the direction of high pressure. So let's have a look at CFS V2 for the next month finally. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week period taking us from the 8th through to the 14th of May. And we find that we've got above average heights out to our west and southwest, below average heights out to our northwest, and also some above average heights up to the northeast. The flow and the jet comes across the Atlantic rather like that, and also some of the energy splitting going up there. So essentially that's a pretty good indication of the representation of the weather we've got coming up for the next week. It will be more unsettled and it will be cooler for the next week compared to what we've had through the first week of May. But it doesn't take long before we start to get this ridge going again. So this is from the 15th through to 21st of May, with above average heights strengthening over Scandinavia and also extending out to the north of the country, below average heights to the south and out to the northwest. The jet stream, there is still a little bit of influence from the jet, I think, there, but less so than in week one. And overall, I think that is settling down and warming up again as we go beyond the middle part of the month. Let's go through to week 3, and this is it. So this takes us from the 23rd through to the 28th of May. This is covering bank holiday period, of course, with above average height sitting just to our east. So that looks quite good, actually. We've got below average heights out in the Atlantic. The flow and the jet, therefore, is going something like that. We're on the warm side of the jet. That could be another very warm spell of weather coming up there from the 22nd through to the 28th of May. High pressure coming back, and with a southerly to southeasterly flow could be very warm as well. And then we go through to the 29th of May to the 4th of June, and we start to move that area of above average heights more to the north of us. Below average heights are beginning to develop down there. That could be turning more unsettled. It will probably still be very warm, at least initially, with the wind coming in from a southeasterly direction, but this low pressure just here might be starting to undercut it. It might be starting to threaten, or at least initially threatening, thunder, actually. That is kind of scenario that could bring thunderstorms, maybe torrential sort of rain, and then possibly going into something quite a lot cooler. And obviously, if that high pressure was to become centered more around here, around Greenland, then we'd be placing, or we'd likely be placing a trough of low pressure underneath it, which is something that we don't want to see in the summer, because that could be very cool and wet scenario. Temperature anomalies for the next week with CFS V2 are coming out close to average, a little bit cooler than average for the northwest of the country, still a little bit warmer than average in the southeast, but let's say temperatures are basically for the week ahead near normal. But then we go into week 2 and we're off and running into another very warm week again. This from the 15th through to the 21st of May. Week 3 is also coming out very warm. This is from the 22nd to the 28th of May, significantly warmer than average again. Could be a little bit of a heat wave, dare I say it, there. And then week 4, which is the 29th of May to the 4th of June, still above average, but the temperature anomaly is lowering. I suspect there's probably a thundery breakdown going on there, and then maybe going into something cooler and more unsettled through the opening days of June. So May shaping up to be a really decent month, actually. We've already had 1 week of very nice weather, and it looks like we've got more coming up at times through the course of the rest of the month. We've got a more unsettled interlude to come, which is going to happen really from the next few days onwards, going into the middle part of May. Then the second half of the month, all the signs are there that high pressure could well be coming back, turning us warmer and drier again, and maybe that will give us another decent bank holiday weekend. We'll have to wait and see on that, of course. Right, so that's brought you up to date with everything after yesterday's day off. Tomorrow we've got a 5-day forecast. We'll also have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days as well. So come back for all the updates tomorrow. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.